MnM Spodlight. दिमाग नहीं, पॉडकास्ट लगा.
I remember my mother and my parents wondering, like, what are you guys doing? How can this be a relationship?
Correct.
And then me saying, how can you be so outdated? And this is how it should be.
Yes.
And then there is my children who are like, what are you talking about? You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Point is, in today's generation where they are not very serious about committing to each other. Committing to live a life with one person, because somewhere they are also getting this any which ways. I was hit in my relationship, but I couldn't leave because I didn't have money.
Correct.
So now my daughter is going to earn her money.
Yeah.
I was raped in my marriage. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to speak up. I'm going to make sure my daughter speaks up. My wife always kept me suppressed. I didn't have freedom of speech. I'm going to make sure my son does not make the same mistake.
Yes.
So tomorrow when the men are going to start talking, are women really prepared?
Prepared. Absolutely. And they should be.
Because these men are going to come up with their understanding, their perspective.
Perspectives are going to be very different.
Very different. So are we women really ready to say that, oh, that's how you think? Or are we then going to say, but you don't know how to talk.
Correct.
But that's not how you talk. But
That's not how
what
you
you're gonna
think
do.
also.
How you think also.
Correct.
So we
have to accept
also have to-
perspectives.
so when we're asking for something, we better know what's coming back to us.
Niyatii N. Shah is an enthusiastic, passionate and renowned sexuality educator, counselor, author and an intimacy coach who believes in educating children and adults on sex education so that they get to know themselves, empowering them so that they can take informed decisions and eradicating the hesitation and taboo around sexuality. She is a mother of 2 children, wife of a very supportive husband and daughter of liberal and very loving parents. She is a sexuality educator, counselor and author of 2 books and a TEDx speaker. She is certified in sex education, the Robert Kharkov model of personal counseling, metaphor therapy, graphology, basic transactional analysis and NLP practitioner. Welcome, Niyatii.
Thank you so much, Karishma. It's such a pleasure being here with you, talking to you, and I'm super excited for this conversation.
Oh, trust me, I have waited longer than you have. Since the time I've known you, I have dreamt of this day that we will be sitting here and having this conversation and being part of something greater than us, and obviously touching such sticky topics but yet relevant in today's day and age. And I had nobody else in mind apart from you to have this conversation with. So I'm really, really honored to have you here.
I think for me also it's equally exciting because from the day I've met all 3 of you, it's only been a fun roller coaster. No barriers. You can speak what you feel like. You can open up. And I've never had these conversations in the way I have it with you all. So very, very excited to be here.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad that we're doing this finally. Niyatii, I know that we are going to be having several episodes with you because I can't have enough of what you have in your head out there. And I really want to touch so many topics. But today we're going to speak about, just relationships and situationships, as we call it in today's day and age, and how it's evolving for everybody from, people who are older than us, whether it be our parents, us as in the millennials, the Gen Z, and I can see a very, very distinct approach to relationships in today's day and age. And that is something I want to talk to you about today because I feel it's getting a little too confusing, for a lot of people around here to just understand the expectations, or rather what a definition of a relationship is and what a definition of a situationship is, and how do we deal with all this. So for starters, I want to know, what is your definition of a situationship?
So situationship automatically just speaks for itself that there is a situation, there is no relation, and we are in this together to now figure out, what do I want, what do you want, whether I can give you what you want, whether you can give me what I want, but at the end of it, you know what, every small thing and I'm out of here.
Correct.
So
Yeah, so basically, I feel situationships are the kinds where the tolerance levels of something that does not suit you are far lower. Like where you're not willing to maneuver around somebody's so-called flaws,
Yes.
or negative points, or whatever it may be, and personality, more importantly, because that is what makes a personality. You have great aspects to a personality, and you don't have such good ones as well. But are we willing to put up with those, that side of a person? And I feel there's a lesser tolerance to that. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I'll begin from your first question
Yeah.
about all these different generations coming up with different things.
Yeah.
So you very rightly said something. Every generation has its own understanding of this relationship. So if you go like many years ago, it used to be the kings who won the war, and that's why the queens would come back. Then there was a trade between father and another father whose children got married. So definition of relationships has always been evolving.
Yes.
Right. So I remember my mother and my parents wondering, like, what are you guys doing? How can this be a relationship?
Correct.
And then me saying, how can you be so outdated? And this is how it should be.
Yes.
And then there is my children who are like, what are you talking about? You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So every generation is going to have its own understanding of this relationship.
Yeah.
Reasons many, which we can explore.
Absolutely.
But the point is, in today's generation where they are not very serious about committing to each other, committing to live a life with one person, because somewhere they are also getting this any which ways.
Yes, absolutely. I think they're far more fulfilled individually. As people, when you are fulfilled individually, you do not feel the need to be as dependent on somebody else for your needs or whatever. You know what I mean? That becomes, that's just so highly independent, and a lot of it becomes a problem, especially I think becomes a problem. But when women are educated, and they are in their full-blown energy of feeling empowered and fulfilled within themselves. They earn their own money. They're not dependent on anybody, not even their parents at times. And for them, they really need these strong points to extend themselves from themselves and give themselves to somebody else. With taking their nonsense, if that means nonsense, but it is most of the time. So do you feel that a woman's education and her exposure right now, and with the internet and what children are exposed to, the Gen Z is exposed to, do you feel that that's playing a major role in them being very choosy and picky about the relationships that they want to get into?
So I have a different perspective to this. Of course, this is one of the bigger reasons where it's so easy to swipe left, swipe right, choose like, okay, what's available? So much is available. So there's so many choices to look into. So multiple perspectives. But the bigger reason I feel is just like what we were discussing earlier, that every generation who had a relationship had their challenges also.
Yes.
So those challenges became the benchmark of those parents who changed the narrative for the next generation.
Correct.
So for example, I was hit in my relationship, but I couldn't leave because I didn't have money.
Correct.
So now my daughter is going to earn her money.
Yeah.
I was raped in my marriage. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to speak up. I'm going to make sure my daughter speaks up.
Yes.
My wife always kept me suppressed. I didn't have freedom of speech. I'm going to make sure my son does not make the same mistake.
Yes.
So every parent somewhere from their experiences have already started narrating of how their child's relationship should look like.
Or should turn out. Yes.
As much as the next generation has their own things to look after, this somewhere is playing a role.
Absolutely.
So in today's times, what this generation has been told is, look after yourself first.
Yeah.
Be financially independent. Nobody is talking about how to be emotionally strong.
Correct.
Nobody knows if there is a challenge, problem solving and logical thinking and reasoning, all those games are available. But real life, what to do? Quit. Just leave. Just walk out from there. That is the narration right now we are using for this generation. So how is this generation anywhere to be blamed or, given responsibility of what they are choosing?
Correct. Absolutely. Escape.
Escape.
Yeah.
Just, it's more than
Don't
escape.
put up
just
with it.
just
Don't put up
leave.
with
Don't
it.
put
It's
up
not
with
something
it.
that you need to
So
put up
I think
with.
it's not about they not having the tolerance. They do have tolerance for things they want to have tolerance for.
Yeah.
So they will have tolerance for their jobs, for their bosses, for their friends.
Yes.
They will have tolerance. So like in their system, as a personality, they do have tolerance. Just that we've told them don't tolerate all this bullshit. And that bullshit might not be bullshit actually. Now, there is this therapist who's coming out and talking now. So there are a lot of reasons behind why we think what we think.
Correct.
Right? So if somebody actually helps you understand, like, Niyatii, this is how you think and how you figure out who you are. So figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Figure out what you really want, keeping the narrative in place. Like, yes, I'm listening, but I'll decide who I want to be.
Correct.
And then when that person takes the decision and is independent and confident of, how you were speaking about this person, that person will be able to have such a tolerant, peaceful relationship.
It's also interesting to, when you mentioned it, a parent is making that change that they want to see within their relationship, and they're inculcating that to their child. But when you spoke about it, you spoke about mostly mothers who are, taking that initiative to make those changes. Why and when are the fathers going to be those, pioneers, or that kind of understanding within themselves to be aware that, okay, this is not what is good for my child's relationship, whether it be a son or a daughter, and this is the change I would like to see in them. Why does it not come so emphatically from a paternal side as opposed to a maternal side?
So I did mention the last example as a father, because when even I was thinking, it is not always one-sided. One thing we need to remember is we women are very expressive. We talk.
Yes.
So that's why people know more of our problems than the men.
Yeah.
Right now we are only talking about
Yes.
men and women, but whoever, if there is a person who is expressive, you will know their problems way more.
Correct.
And women talk
Correct.
to each other also. Men don't. So I
wanted to ask you, why is that? Why is that? Why do men not talk to each other?
So one, I think it's always been taught like that, the stronger you are, you have to be this strong person who can handle everything. And speaking about a problem shows you that you can't handle.
Yes.
So when you talk, it's actually not about that you can't handle. It's just about discussing it out with your people.
Yes.
So I think this meaning has to change.
Yeah.
So that is why I think still, even till today, men just don't have it. It's not a habit, or it's not something that they could have modeled. Looking at their fathers or uncles. And
Correct.
so nobody was talking. They are not talking. It's just the way it's flowing.
So I feel even in that sense, then, would you call men like a victim of patriarchy, or what they have been conditioned to believe or to for themselves? Don't express yourself. Don't be emotional. Don't cry. Don't show too much emotion towards your partner.
Yeah.
Don't show too much affection towards her needs. These limitations, do you think this is a conditioning, or it is just how men behave in general?
I think it was needed when it was needed.
Correct.
It was needed at that point in time, where
Yeah.
they would not spend their energy into talking and emotions and all of that. That time it was war and business and money and the whole evolution was that at that point in time.
Correct.
Now we are like, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? It's again the women who are asking the men, why aren't you talking? Now, because what has happened is, we women have lost touch with our own women gang.
Yeah.
We are not living in those joint families anymore, where we have nanans and devranis and 2-3 sasus and so our clan is becoming smaller. We needed that women community to just bring that femininity out and
Absolutely.
talk. So now who's left in front of you?
The husband.
The husband.
Correct.
So, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking?
Yeah.
And he now feels like, oh, I should have been talking because she needs me. So there's no right and wrong to this. It's just the way we have to understand how it's changing.
Correct.
So tomorrow when the men are going to start talking, are women really prepared?
Prepared. Absolutely. And they should be.
Because these men are going to come up with their understanding, their perspective.
Perspectives are going to be very different.
Very different. So are we women really ready to say that, oh, that's how you think? Or are we then going to say, but you don't know how to talk?
Correct.
But that's not how you talk. But
That's not how
what
you
you're going
think
to do.
also.
How you think also.
Correct.
So
we have to accept
also have to-
perspectives.
when we are asking for something, we better know what's coming back to us.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
think it's just evolution,
Yeah.
and it's not about anybody's a victim or
Yeah.
everybody's happy,
Yeah.
everybody's doing their thing. You actually, if you see the world on a very from
You're
a mountain
yeah,
peak,
yeah. Bird's eye
everything's
view.
fine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just these smaller in-house things that we are not very happy about because of the. And again, this is not that only women are suffering.
Yeah.
You did bring out a point that men are, because there are some who want to talk.
Yes.
And then they're like, I can't.
Yeah.
I remember this one gentleman who came to me to say, Niyatii, I love wearing saris, but I can't.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Okay. And I'm like, I mean, understanding what he's saying. And I'm like, how can we help you that you can wear?
Yes.
Where can you go? What can you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, my wife knows. So I wear her saris and she clicks my pictures. And I was
That's
like,
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So it's not like that men don't want to do the other things that
Yes.
otherwise men don't want to do.
Yes.
But I think the world is coming to a space where all this is going to be tolerable
where
and
that's
it is
going
going
to
to
be
be
acceptable.
normalizing. And people are going to be like, so what?
Yep, absolutely. And and so beautifully put, because there are so many shades to an individual.
Yeah.
We are so conditioned to box it up into this, that we are not willing to paint outside our canvas, and when it comes to our personalities. And I think that's a shame. But when you meet those right people to accept you the way you are, as the couple that you just spoke about, I think it's just so beautiful.
It is.
Like I would encourage, anybody who is with me to whatever floats their boat, on probably their sexuality or what they want to look at or what they want to experience, because I think we're too confined about what is right and what is wrong to do, that we forget to let them be themselves. And again, beautiful example of it. And I think we should be more accepting to that, because if we have that one person to be ourselves with, I think we were the most beautiful relationship, irrespective. Which, obviously, relationships, again, I feel is very individual in definition. No two relationships are the same. None can be defined in a very specific manner कि इसको relationship बोलते हैं,
Absolutely.
इसको marriage बोलते हैं. नहीं. You make your marriage, you make your relationship. And which brings me to the point that if we are more accepting, do you think the Gen Z is more accepting like this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I remember this conversation. A few of our friends, they were like 4 families sitting together, and I was the one who was a little more educated on this topic. But it was like, oh, you kids nowadays, all these different things you are coming up with, and there can be so many problems in the community, and how will people do this, and how will... So the 4 kids were listening, okay, and they were, I think, about 16 to 18 at that time, and they're like, you had your share of problems, we have ours, let us deal with it. And they're like, so what if somebody wants to be who they want to be? Where is the problem?
Yeah.
I don't think they even see that there is a problem.
Correct.
So
That's
where is
great.
the point in accepting something?
Yes.
It's not even a problem.
There's no problem
to them.
to accept it. Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, that's how we like it. Okay, fine. That's how it is.
That's
They're
amazing.
so smooth with this.
Yeah, so
They're
I guess
so
it's getting better for
accepting.
them.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
it's getting better for them, because we were in a different conditioning altogether,
Absolutely.
and them to have it far more easier is better. Okay, which brings me to the point that Gen Z is also more open to have multiple partners, multiple partners at the same time, multiple relationships at the same time. Also, what we call as polyamory or polyamorous in nature. Now, I feel that their choices are obviously very individual, but I also want to know what is the consequences of such choices that individuals make. Where if you are wanting to be in that situation where you enjoy everybody, there has to be some consequence on your personality.
Yeah.
I want to know what are those red flags that are there, when you think of that.
We are talking about somebody who has multiple partners at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, one, when we talk about sex.
Casual sex.
Casual sex.
Yes.
So, no, in general also, when we talk about sex, people only understand sex as penetrative and orgasming.
Yeah.
And pleasure and reproduction.
Correct.
According to me, there are mainly these four things people look into. But what our ancestors, like India is the only country who's written a book on sexuality,
Absolutely.
which is science and art and everything
Put together.
So if you actually understand that, sex is not just that 3-minute activity.
Yes.
Very specifically saying 3 minutes because it's usually not longer than that. We can talk about that later. But
Horsepower tablets ka advertisement nahi hai.
no. But having said that, in that time that you spend with this person, there are so many different things that are happening from the energy level, from the hormonal level. Nobody's talking about that.
Exactly what I wanted to speak to you about. Yeah.
So if I am with person A, person B, person C, I am not only exchanging myself with A, B, and C, I'm also taking in them with me.
Yes.
So if I'm very aware about this and then I'm choosing who I want to be, great.
Yeah.
But what if you don't know them?
Exactly.
What if you have not spent enough time with them? What if you don't know your own self so well?
Correct.
You are just mixing so many emotions. It can be a recipe by itself, but I genuinely doubt that it can turn out to be very pleasant.
Yeah. I get that.
You have to be this person who are so aware about themselves that you can choose like, okay, this is, and that also comes with maturity.
Yes.
So now that if we talk anatomy, that maturity usually comes post 21, 25 years.
Correct.
So that is when your mental development is done.
Yeah.
So before that, if you have this, so imagine what you're doing to the brain receptors who are actually learning at that point, like who you are, what are your choices, how do you like it, how do you want it?
Yes.
And then you're exposing it to so many different varieties. It'll never know.
Yeah.
So you're never going to know who you are. You're never going to know what your likes are. Either you're going to say, oh, that was okay. Or not this, but this. But then this constant flow of different people.
Yes.
So energy level, biology level, development level, it's a chaos.
It becomes harder to recognize what is right for you at that moment.
Absolutely.
Of time. Correct.
And these are not just energy talks and chakra talks and everything, but these are the facts.
Yeah.
These are the truths.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was getting at, where basically their choice of this obviously comes with consequences. But also I want the audience to know that, okay, you are choosing to be monogamous, suppose.
Yes.
In this day and age, what is the relevancy of what kind of aspects you're looking at to step into a relationship? In the sense that what should you look out for in general, knowing the exposure, knowing the attitude, knowing the mental structure of the generation, whether it's slightly older than you or younger, because women tend to choose slightly older men sometimes. Men choose slightly older women sometimes. I'm seeing that trend a lot with men. What are those prerequisites right now? Because I know it is very individual, but there has to be some basics to look out for. Okay, this person is the right person to bring into my life.
So I think, Karishma, it is very important first to understand how this dating scene has changed over a period of time.
Yes.
Initially, it used to be, where people were dating to see whether this relationship can become serious or not.
It was always a marriage ending, of sorts.
You
want to look at it from a marriage perspective.
Absolutely. There was a goal to it. Like, okay, once the marriage was there, then there was a next goal set. And then it's like any other transaction or a business or relationships, whether you talk with your product and partner, or you talk with your clients, or you talk with your the basic foundation rules remain the same. So if you don't have a goal, but if your goal is feel good factor, oh, I have so many partners. Oh, I did this date today. Oh, I went here today. Oh, we travel so much. Oh, sex is great. So if your targets are so short-lived.
Like dopamine hits. It's like doing some drug which is just, absolutely.
So then that's where you'll stay. And there's no harm to it, but after a while you'll get bored. And then you'll want something intense and then something intense. So I think the first thing to see is what do you want? What's your goal?
Yeah.
Are you into this relationship for these shots, or are you into this relationship because you are looking at something?
Yes.
A companionship, somebody to have a laugh with, somebody to go snuggle with, somebody to share everything with.
Yes.
Then there will be some other side of the coin that is also going to come to you while you are deciding. So first you need to know what do you want, what is your goal, then try to go and see and look for that person who has similar goals.
Absolutely.
So rather than saying red flags, green flags, see, we say these red flag, green flag for the people who are in the relationship.
Yes.
पहले relationship तो बने.
Yeah.
फिर तुम ढूंढो कि red flag क्या है, green flag क्या है, and then you correct it. But of course, there are certain things which are not okay from the beginning.
From the beginning,
which is humanity. Okay, I'm not even getting into the relationship part of it. Like abusing is not humanly. So you don't counter those things. But first look into whether you can speak up whatever you want. Are you happy in that person's company? Do you feel relaxed with that person? Can you speak openly?
Yeah, can you speak your mind?
Do you really have to think? Are you scared before saying something? Can you wear whatever you want to wear?
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things who allows you to be who you are.
Correct.
And that is not going to happen in 3 dates, 4 dates,
No,
5
it doesn't.
dates.
It happens over a period of time. It is an investment. It's literally an investment. You have to spend enough time to, sometimes I come to understand, I'm like, when I'm going back and thinking about my own relationships and I'm thinking, okay, you know, how much time did I spend actually getting to know somebody?
Yeah.
And sometimes even 2 to 3 years doesn't seem enough.
I'm married 22 years.
Oh my
Karishma.
God! Congratulations to you.
So after that too,
Yeah.
there is a different side I bring in sometimes. There's a different side he brings in. And there's again a change. There's again a learning. Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
Oh, now do you prefer this than that? Oh, now is your belief this than that?
Yeah. It's evolving.
Exactly.
You individually are evolving.
You're
Absolutely.
maturing.
Yeah.
Your own experiences, your own understanding, your own challenges, your own healings.
Yeah.
All that is changing you.
Yes.
Similarly, your
Same
partner is
thing,
changing.
correct.
So whether it is
Changing or not changing.
or not changing.
Yeah.
So whether it was date 1 or it's date 22 into 52, it is going to change. So if you don't understand the basics of a relationship, you're going to look for these cherries on the cake and decide whether the cake is good or not.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so
I call it the rose tinted glasses. I don't think they stay on for too long.
Exactly.
It just like falls off.
I love that that metaphor. But if you are in a garden and looking for roses, make sure there will be thorns. All you have to do is learn where to hold.
Agreed.
And you know, you're going to have the best bouquet of your life, where there's going to be this sense of, oh, lag to nahi jayega. And then at the same time, taking in the smell and looking at the beautiful flowers and all of that. But for Gen Z, even Gen Alpha, if I have to include them in this talk today, the world is going to tell you what it's going to tell you, because we've gone through certain experiences. We don't want you to go through it. But at the same time, I think you all are super smart. You all have information on your fingertips. You have people who will help you. Like, we never had counselors and therapists and
nobody to tell us what
doctors
to do and how to think.
who would go beyond the symptoms.
Yes.
You have all of that.
Yeah.
So take a very wise decision and use these resources. It is really to your advantage. Don't just listen to those 5-second reels who just said something
and chhod diya. Correct. Yeah.
You know the picture of the iceberg, right? Where you can see so much, but there's so much
below.
underneath.
Correct.
So at the end of the whole story, whether it's a man or a woman, if you are getting into multiple relationships, figure out what is lacking. And it's not, I won't say right or wrong if you're not married, but if you're married, then you've committed to certain things.
Correct.
And if you are stepping out of that system, it is extremely important to have a dialogue with your partner.
Yeah, and that's a different episode altogether. Altogether, and I'm definitely going to have that episode with you. That dialogue is so so important.
Yes.
That communication is of absolute paramount importance, and one of the reasons why I will bring you on again is to basically decipher that communication and how should we approach it.
Yes.
So we've come to a great end to this episode with Niyatii, and I can't wait to have many more with you. And I think we've done something beautiful. I started something beautiful today, which I pray continues, and we have so many more conversations to, dive into with you. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being a part of Sass It Up with Sassiest. Thank you.
Again, thank you from my end. It was exactly how I, said earlier. It's fun having these conversations.
Yes.
Thank you once again for having me.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.